Good afternoon and welcome to Uncle Sam's Senior Corner. Today I'd like to deal with a topic which is close to my heart, and that is how are young people misled by radical groups into following them and adopting their radical ideas, which is totally wrong. Today's groups like the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, which are misleading some of the young people and some people which not really up to snuff and to seeing what they really are. People think that, but joining this organization and having this organization take over the governance of this country, that they'll be getting things for free. That's not true, though, because somebody's got to pay for those things for free. But they've been brainwashed. They've been indoctrinated in schools. They've been indoctrinated by politician misrepresentations. Well, let's tackle the young people, which are really joining this organization. How did they get there? How did they decide to follow a radical group which is totally against our constitutional laws in the United States, against our freedoms? Well, in my opinion, this started a long time ago. It's nothing new. I mean, if you're old enough, you will recall remember the Weather Underground, a terrorist group? Well, the Weather Underground wanted to overthrow the government of the United States. And who led that? Remember Bill Ayers? And guess what? After all the bombings, after all those shenanigans and terrorism which we experienced under this group led by this Bill Ayers, did you know that he became a professor at the Illinois University in Chicago? Well, this is the type of people which you have in our higher education now. It starts maybe at a high school level, maybe sometimes even at the elementary level. Today, teachers, instructors, professors, they're not teaching history. They're not teaching them historical facts of the United States. They're not teaching the Constitution, why it was set up so. The Constitution gives you certain guarantees: personal freedom, freedom of speech, freedom to own property, freedom to sell property, start a business, be successful if you're a hard worker. Actually, these people are professing that they should take over the country for the workers. Not really take over the country for the workers. Take over the country so the single group could dictate to all of us what we should eat, what we could say, what we could own, and what we can own, and what kind of business I could be part of, work, or profession. That sounds like communism. No, communism is based on that, where the state actually tells you what type of work you're going to do, whether you can own or not own property. Actually, you can't own property under communism. If you recall that all property was taken away from people which earned that property, the peasants which came up and were successful, they earned it. But you know what? Under that purge, I think it was called the Gulag Purge, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, under those purges where people just the zone, take everything away from them and tell them, now you're going to do this type of work and you're going to live in this type apartment or whatever. in Russia, where the birth of communism started, there were great purges. The first Lenin, when he took over, and when Lenin took over with the Bolsheviks and so forth and so on, there were the judicial purges, execution of approximately 800,000 political opponents. That is genocide. And then there was the Gulag system, where close to 1.5 million people were recorded dying under forced labor camps. And then there were the forced deportation. By the way, under these people which were forced into labor camps, you had a total of 390,000 which were reported deaths in the 1940s. And then you have the forced deportation. There's different ethnic groups which were deported. But they were not deported to, say, another country. They were deported to Siberia, where they died, where they were just like forced labor. Of course, these groups were not favored because possibly they were not with the program of the communist. What I'm saying is that communism is not what young people think it is. What communism is a takeover by the elite group and basically enslaving the rest of the population, or telling the rest of the population what they should do, no freedom of speech, where to live, what type of work to do, etc., and etc., and etc. That's what communism is. Well, isn't this what the democratic socialists of America are professing? As I started to say, that this is kind of an issue which we need to really concentrate on. Where does it start? It starts with radicals like Bill Ayers. And then when does it continue? It continues in our classrooms at every level, where instructors, teachers, professors indoctrinate students to their ideologies. Basically, they're brainwashing them. They're brainwashing our students. I remember when I went to a university, it wasn't like that. There was some sort of liberal professors, yes, but they did not indoctrinate anyone. But that's prior to the present time. After the 70s, things kind of went a little bit haywire. What we have now is extreme liberalism teaching our students indoctrination into liberal and leftist type of ideologies. So we need to look at our educational system and kind of reform our educational system to make sure that our history is taught correctly by facts, by really studying the Constitution, studying all the laws of the United States, and not trying to circumvent them. This is my opinion. My opinion, it all starts in the schools today, or in the past 20, 30 years, where liberal and extremist instructors and professors who indoctrinate our youth. And consequently, now we have a movement which would like to take away your rights. They would like to basically take over the country. A few elite would like to take over our country and dictate to you what you should do in your life. You will lose your personal freedoms. your freedom of speech, your Second Amendment will be gone. What do you think all this leftist would like to ban all weapons, all guns? They would like to get rid of the Second Amendment. Well, the Second Amendment was put into the Constitution for the very reason that something like this could happen in the United States. And if something like this could happen in the United States, you would have a mode to rebel and have a mode to protect yourself in the rebellion. And that's what's keeping us a free republic. We don't want to be enslaved. We don't want to tell us we cannot own a business. And we don't want to tell our children you get things for free. We want to instill in them that we want them to work and be successful, not take things for free where somebody else is paying for those free stuff. Someone else is paying for it. So rather than be a parasite on the successful people, well, those people which like free stuff should start learning to work and earn it. And this is what this was all about in this country. This is what it's built on, hard work. People who succeed. If opportunities are here, they're here to be taken. But they're not going to be here to be taken for somebody which doesn't want to give the effort. Anyway, this is my personal opinion. I thank you for listening to me. Some of you may share my opinions. I'm sure some of you will not. But me as in May, this is what this country is made about, is freedom of speech and expressing where your feelings are and expressing your thoughts. With that in mind, I'd like to say good afternoon. God bless you and God bless America.